Before I continue, I need you to understand something. By the time I reached my truck in the parkade beneath the Fairmont, I already knew exactly which section of the Privacy Act Marcus had violated. I knew which regulatory body to contact, and I knew his entire company would be under investigation within 72 hours. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Robert Henderson. My friends call me Bob. I'm 63 years old, and I spent 41 years as a licensed plumber in Vancouver. Started my apprenticeship in 1979, got my Red Seal in 1983, and worked every day until I retired 3 years ago. I've crawled through more crawl spaces than I can count, fixed burst pipes at 3 in the morning, and installed plumbing systems in half the new developments in the Lower Mainland. It's honest work. Good work. Work I'm proud of. My daughter Emily is 28. She's brilliant. Always has been. Top of her class at UBC, landed a position at a tech company straight out of university. That's where she met Marcus Chen. He was the VP of product development back then, and according to Emily, he was charming, ambitious, and treated her like she hung the moon. They got married 4 years ago. Small ceremony at Stanley Park, reception at a restaurant in Yaletown. I walked her down the aisle, gave a toast about how plumbing and marriage both require a solid foundation and regular maintenance. People laughed. Marcus laughed too, but there was something in his eyes. Like he thought it was cute that the old plumber was making plumbing jokes. The first year was fine. Marcus was polite at family dinners, asked about my retirement plans, smiled at the right moments. But then his company, DataStream Technologies, got Series B funding, $15 million. Suddenly Marcus wasn't just a VP anymore. He was the CEO. And suddenly, my profession became a punchline. It started small. Comments at Sunday dinners at our place in Kitsilano. Still got your work boots in the garage, Bob? Don't you think it's time to throw those out? Or, Emily was telling me about her childhood. Must have been tough growing up with a dad who worked with his hands all day. Emily would shoot him looks. I'd brush it off. My wife, Sarah, before she passed 5 years ago, used to say I had the patience of a saint. Maybe. Or maybe I just didn't want to make waves for Emily's sake. But it escalated. 2 years ago, Marcus moved them out to a penthouse in Cole Harbor, started driving a Tesla, started talking about disrupting industries and scaling solutions. The Sunday dinners stopped. Emily would call, apologize, say Marcus had networking events or investor meetings. I understood, or I tried to. Last month, Emily called me. Her voice had that forced brightness that told me she was nervous about something. Dad, Marcus is hosting a gala. It's a big deal, a fundraiser for youth tech education. He specifically asked me to invite you. I should have known something was off. Marcus had never specifically asked for me to attend anything. That's nice of him, I said, already suspicious. It's black tie, Emily added quickly, at the Fairmont Hotel, Vancouver, next Friday at 7. I don't own a tuxedo. Never had a reason to. I rented one from a place on Broadway. Felt ridiculous trying it on in the fitting room. The kid helping me, couldn't have been more than 20, kept calling it a tux like we were best friends. But when I looked in the mirror, I had to admit I cleaned up all right. Gray hair, sure. Lines on my face from 40 years of squinting at pipe joints in dark spaces. But I stood straight. Still had my shoulders from all those years of hauling cast iron. Emily picked me up in her car. Marcus was already at the venue, she said, doing final prep with the event coordinator. She looked beautiful in a blue dress, but tired. There were circles under her eyes. You okay, sweetheart? I asked as we drove down Burrard. Just busy, she said. Marcus has been stressed with the new product launch. What is it you folks are launching again? It's called Mind Metrics. An app that uses AI to analyze your social media behavior and provide personalized mental wellness recommendations. I didn't understand half of that, but I nodded. Sounds complicated. It is, but Marcus says it's going to revolutionize mental health care. The Fairmont's ballroom was something else. Crystal chandeliers, round tables with white linens, probably 300 people in evening wear. I recognized a few faces from the news. Local politicians, tech executives, a Canucks player I'd seen on TV. Marcus found us immediately. He was wearing a tuxedo that probably cost more than my monthly pension, his hair styled with some kind of product that made it shine under the lights. "Bob," he said, shaking my hand with both of his. "So glad you could make it. Emily's been telling me you never miss a family event." That wasn't true. He'd excluded me from plenty. But I smiled. "Wouldn't miss it," I said. "Let me introduce you around," Marcus said, steering me by the elbow toward a group of men in expensive suits. "Gentlemen, this is my father-in-law, Bob Henderson. Bob's a retired plumber." The way he said plumber made it sound like I'd spent 40 years unclogging toilets at gas stations. One of the men, someone Marcus introduced as David from Sequoia Capital, shook my hand. "Plumber, eh? Must be nice to have such a straightforward job. None of this tech complexity." "It had its complexities," I said evenly. Marcus laughed. "Oh, I'm sure it did. Don't get me wrong, we need plumbers. Who else is going to fix the toilets?" More laughter from the group. I felt Emily stiffen beside me. The dinner was excruciating. I sat at a table with people who talked about valuations and market disruptions and user acquisition costs. I nodded along, ate my salmon, and wondered why I'd been invited. After dessert, Marcus took the stage. The room quieted. He had that thing some people have, that ability to command attention just by standing there. "Thank you all for coming tonight," he began. "We're here to support the next generation of tech innovators, kids who will build the future, kids who won't be limited to traditional careers." There was something in the way he said traditional careers that made my stomach tighten. "I grew up here in Vancouver," Marcus continued. "My parents were immigrants. They worked hard at whatever jobs they could get. They wanted more from me. They wanted me to use my mind, not just my hands." I felt eyes shifting toward our table, and I'm grateful I had that opportunity. Grateful I went to university instead of trade school. Grateful I learned to code instead of learning to, I don't know, install pipes. Scattered laughter. Emily's hand found mine under the table, squeezed hard. Marcus kept going. "My father-in-law is here tonight, Bob Henderson. Bob's a retired plumber. Spent his whole career with wrenches and pipe cutters. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. We need people to do that work. But that's not what we're fundraising for tonight. Tonight, we're raising money to make sure the next generation has choices. Real choices. Not just learning a trade because that's all they think they can do." The room erupted in applause. Marcus smiled, that megawatt smile of his, and looked directly at me. "Bob, thanks for being here tonight. You represent everything our parents' generation valued. Hard work, showing up, getting your hands dirty. But tonight is about showing these kids that there's another way." More applause. Someone near me whispered to their companion, "Is that really his father-in-law?" I stood up. Not dramatically. I just pushed back my chair, stood, and looked at Emily. Her eyes were wet. "I'm sorry, Dad," she whispered. "Not your fault, sweetheart." I walked out. Nobody stopped me. I took the elevator down to the parkade, found my truck, and sat in the driver's seat with my hands on the steering wheel. Here's what Marcus didn't know about me. When you're a plumber, especially a commercial plumber working on big developments, you learn to read blueprints. You learn building codes. You learn the National Building Code of Canada, the BC Building Code, and every relevant CSA standard. You learn because if you get it wrong, people die. Water systems fail, gas lines rupture, sewage backs up into drinking water. You also learn that most people don't read the fine print. Developers, contractors, building owners, they all assume someone else checked the details. But a good plumber? A good plumber checks everything. After Sarah died, I had a lot of time on my hands. Emily suggested I take some courses to keep my mind active. So I took courses at the public library. Computer basics, internet safety. One of them was called Understanding Digital Privacy. It was taught by a retired RCMP officer who'd worked in cybercrime. That's where I learned about the Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents Act, PPADA. It's the federal law that governs how private organizations collect, use, and disclose personal information. The instructor spent 3 weeks walking us through case studies of companies that had violated it. I learned that if a company collects personal information without proper consent, they're in violation. I learned about the Office of the Privacy Commissioner of Canada. I learned that violations could result in massive fines and criminal charges if the breach was severe enough. I sat in my truck in that parkade, and I thought about Mind Metrics, an app that analyzes your social media behavior. That meant it needed access to your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of it. That meant it was collecting massive amounts of personal data. And I thought about something Marcus had said at a family dinner 6 months ago, bragging about how quickly they'd gotten Mind Metrics to market. We moved fast. Cut through the red tape. That's how you win in tech. I took out my phone, found Mind Metrics in the App Store, downloaded it. The installation process asked for access to my social media accounts, my contacts, my photos, my location, standard stuff, according to the permissions screen. I clicked through to the terms of service. Here's another thing you learn as a plumber. Always read the contract. Always. The terms of service were 30 pages of legal language. I read every word. Took me 45 minutes, sitting in that parkade, zooming in on my phone screen. On page 17, section 8.3, I found it. By using Mind Metrics, you grant DataStream Technologies unlimited license to collect, analyze, store, and monetize your personal data, including but not limited to social media content, private messages, photos, location data, and contact information. This data may be shared with third-party partners for marketing and research purposes. I read it 3 times to make sure I understood. Then I went back to the installation screen. The permissions request didn't mention anything about monetizing data or sharing with third parties. It just said Mind Metrics needs access to your social media to provide personalized wellness recommendations. That's called insufficient disclosure. Under Pipetta, you need to clearly inform users exactly how their data will be used. You can't bury the real terms in page 17 of a document most people never read. I sat back in my seat. My hands were shaking. Not from anger, though I was angry, from adrenaline, because I just found something that could bring down Marcus's entire company. But Emily, my daughter, my girl, this would destroy her marriage. It would humiliate her. She'd stand by Marcus, probably. She loved him, or she thought she did. I started the truck, drove home to my house in Kitsilano, the same house where Emily grew up, where Sarah and I raised her. I made myself a cup of tea and sat at the kitchen table where we used to eat breakfast together. I could walk away. I could delete the app, ignore what I'd found, and let Marcus continue building his company on the backs of people who didn't realize they were being exploited. Thousands of people, maybe hundreds of thousands eventually, having their private information sold to the highest bidder. Or I could do something. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at my computer, the one Emily had helped me pick out 3 years ago, and I started researching. DataStream Technologies had launched Mind Metrics 6 months ago. According to their press releases, they had 200,000 active users. 200,000 people who downloaded an app thinking it would help with their mental health, not knowing their private messages and photos were being harvested and sold. I found articles about data breaches, about companies that had faced consequences for mishandling personal information. I found the Office of the Privacy Commissioner's website and read through their complaint process. At 3 a.m., I made my decision. I spent the weekend documenting everything. I took screenshots of every page of the terms of service. I documented the misleading permissions request. I downloaded Mind Metrics myself and recorded the entire installation process, noting exactly what information it asked for versus what it actually collected. Then I looked up data protection lawyers in Vancouver, found a firm called Morrison & Associates that specialized in privacy law, called them Monday morning. The lawyer I spoke to, Janet Morrison, listened to my explanation without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. "Mr. Henderson," she said carefully, "what you're describing is a serious violation of PPTA. If what you've found is accurate, this company could face significant penalties." "That's what I thought," I said. "But I have to ask, this is your son-in-law's company?" "Yes." Another pause. "And you understand that filing a complaint could result in an investigation that might destroy the company?" "I do." "May I ask why you're doing this?" I thought about how to answer that. Because 200,000 people trusted this app with their private information. Because my daughter works for this company, and I don't want her associated with something fraudulent. And because someone needs to hold him accountable. Janet Morrison said she'd review everything I'd sent and get back to me. She called me back Wednesday. Mr. Henderson, I've reviewed your documentation. You're absolutely right. This is a clear violation. The Office of the Privacy Commissioner would be very interested in this case. What happens if I file a complaint? The Commissioner will launch an investigation. They'll subpoena DataStream's records, interview executives, examine their data handling practices. If they find violations, they can order the company to change their practices, issue public findings, and in severe cases, recommend criminal prosecution. How long does that take? Months, usually. But given the number of users affected and the severity of the violations, they might move faster. I thanked her and hung up. Then I called Emily. "Hey, Dad," she answered. She sounded tired. "I'm so sorry about the gala. Marcus said he was trying to be inspirational, but I told him..." "Emily," I interrupted gently, "I need to talk to you about mind metrics." "Oh," her voice changed. "Dad, if this is about the gala..." "It's not. I downloaded the app. I read the terms of service." Silence. "Emily, did you know the app is collecting private messages, photos, location data, and selling it to third parties?" That's just how apps work, Dad. Everyone does that. But does everyone know? When people download Mind Metrics, does the app clearly tell them their data is being sold? I don't know. That's not my department. I work on user experience. Look at the permissions request, I said. Then look at Section 8.3 of the Terms of Service. Tell me if you think that's transparent. I heard her typing. Then more silence. "Dad," she said quietly, "I have to go. We'll talk later." She hung up. That night, I couldn't sleep again. I kept thinking about Sarah, about what she would say. She always told me to protect our daughter, but she also taught Emily to do the right thing, even when it was hard. At 2 a.m., I got an email from Emily. "Dad, I looked at what you said. You're right. It's not transparent." I brought it up with Marcus. He said it's standard practice and legal approved everything. But I don't feel good about it. I don't know what to do. I wrote back, "Sweetheart, you have to decide what you can live with. I love you no matter what." Then I filed the complaint with the Office of the Privacy Commissioner. The investigation started quietly. DataStream received a notice that they were being investigated for potential PIPEDA violations. Marcus called Emily in a panic. According to her, he was furious, demanding to know if she'd talked to anyone about the app. She lied and said no. For 3 weeks, nothing seemed to happen publicly. But I got updates from Janet Morrison. The commissioner's office had subpoenaed DataStream's records. They'd found evidence that the company had been selling user data to advertising networks, insurance companies, and political research firms. They'd found internal emails where Marcus discussed maximizing monetization of the data without alarming users. Then the Vancouver Sun published an article, "Local Tech Darling Under Investigation for Privacy Violations." The article detailed the commissioner's investigation. It quoted anonymous sources saying DataStream had misled users about how their data was being used. It mentioned that 200,000 Canadians might have had their private information sold without proper consent. The story went viral. Within hours, users were deleting Mind Metrics and posting angry reviews. Privacy advocates were calling for criminal charges. Marcus's investors started asking questions. Emily called me, crying. "Dad, did you do this?" I didn't lie to her. "Yes. How could you? Marcus's company is going to collapse. Our life is falling apart." "Emily, he was exploiting people, vulnerable people who thought they were getting mental health support. He made a mistake. He didn't mean..." "Sweetheart, I saw the emails. He knew exactly what he was doing." She hung up, didn't call back for 2 weeks. The Privacy Commissioner issued their preliminary findings. DataStream Technologies had violated PIPEDA in multiple ways. They'd collected personal information without proper consent, failed to adequately disclose their data practices, and sold personal information to third parties without users' knowledge. The commissioner recommended significant penalties and ordered DataStream to immediately stop collecting user data until they implemented proper privacy protections. Marcus tried to fight it. He hired expensive lawyers, issued public statements claiming the investigation was based on a misunderstanding. But the evidence was overwhelming. The internal emails, the terms of service, the gap between what users were told and what actually happened. DataStream's board forced Marcus to step down as CEO. The company's valuation plummeted. The Series B investors demanded their money back. Within 6 weeks of my complaint, DataStream Technologies was sold to a larger company for pennies on the dollar. Marcus and Emily's penthouse in Cole Harbor went on the market. I saw the listing online. They moved to a small apartment in Mount Pleasant. I didn't hear from Emily for 3 months. I called every week, left messages. "Hi, sweetheart. Just checking in. I love you. Call me when you're ready." Finally, on a rainy October afternoon, my doorbell rang. Emily stood on my porch, no umbrella, soaking wet. "Can I come in?" she asked. I pulled her inside, got her a towel, made tea. We sat at the kitchen table, same place where I'd made my decision months earlier. "I'm divorcing him," she said. I didn't say anything, just waited. "I found more," she continued. "After everything came out, I started looking through company files. Dad, he wasn't just selling data to advertisers. He was selling mental health information to insurance companies. People's anxiety levels, depression indicators, therapy mentions. Insurance companies were using it to deny coverage." Her hands were shaking around the mug. "There was a woman," Emily said. "Single mom, posted on Facebook about struggling with postpartum depression. Mindmetrics flagged it, sold it to her insurance provider. They denied her life insurance application. Marcus knew. He saw the reports, and he didn't care." She looked up at me. "You were right to report him. I couldn't see it. I didn't want to see it." "You see it now," I said gently. "That's what matters." "I'm sorry, Dad, for everything. For letting him disrespect you. For not standing up for you at the gala. For being angry when you did the right thing." I reached across the table and took her hand. "You don't need to apologize. You were trying to build a life. That's not wrong. But I chose the wrong person. Maybe. Or maybe you chose someone who could have been good, but wasn't. Either way, you're making the right choice now." We sat there for a long time, drinking tea, watching the rain. "What are you going to do?" I asked eventually. "I got a job offer. A smaller company. They do accessibility software. The CEO reached out after everything happened with DataStream, said they valued people who care about ethics." She smiled a little. "It pays less, but I can actually sleep at night." "That's good, sweetheart." "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "When you were sitting in that parkade after the gala, did you know what you were going to find?" "No," I said honestly. "I just knew I needed to look." "And if you hadn't found anything? If Marcus had been doing everything properly, then I would have been happy to be wrong." She nodded slowly. "That's the difference, isn't it? Marcus would never admit he was wrong. Even at the end, he kept saying, 'Everyone does it. It's just business.' He was being singled out. He never once said he was sorry." "Some people can't," I said. "They've built their whole identity around being smarter than everyone else. Admitting a mistake feels like admitting they're not special." "Were you ever like that?" she asked. "Maybe when I was younger. Your mother straightened me out pretty quick." I smiled, remembering. First year of marriage, I messed up a job. Tried to blame the contractor, the supplier, everyone but myself. Your mother said, "Bob, you can be right or you can be happy. Pick one." So, I learned to admit when I was wrong. "I miss her," Emily said. "Me too." Emily moved back into her old bedroom for a few months while the divorce was finalized and she saved up for her own place. It was good having her there. The house felt less empty. We fell into a routine. I'd make breakfast, she'd handle dinner. We'd watch Canucks games together, yell at the TV. One night, about a month after she'd moved back in, we were cleaning up after dinner when she said, "Marcus's lawyer contacted me." I stopped drying dishes. "What did they want?" "Marcus wants me to sign an NDA. He'll give me a larger settlement if I agree not to talk about what happened at DataStream. What did you say? I told them no. She was quiet for a moment, washing a plate with more focus than necessary. There's a class action lawsuit, users who had their data sold. They asked if I'd testify about what I knew. Are you going to? I think so. Is that okay? Emily, you don't need my permission. I know. But I'm asking anyway. I put down the dish towel and looked at her. Really looked at her. She had her mother's eyes. That same determination when she'd made up her mind about something. Your mother would be proud of you, I said. I'm proud of you. She testified. The class action settled for $12 million. Marcus filed for bankruptcy. Last I heard, he moved to Toronto, working for someone else's startup. Emily found her own apartment in Fairview. Nothing fancy, but it's hers. She's been at her new job for 8 months now. Seems happy. We still have Sunday dinners, but now she comes to my place and we cook together. Last month, she brought someone new. Jason. He's a teacher at an elementary school in East Van. When I mentioned I'd been a plumber, he lit up. That's amazing, he said. I've been trying to fix my kitchen sink for weeks. Think you could help me out sometime? I glanced at Emily. She was smiling. I'd be happy to, I said. After dinner, after Jason left, Emily and I were doing dishes again. He seems nice, I said. He is. He's kind. He doesn't care about impressing people or building empires. He just wants to help kids learn to read. Sounds like a good guy. Yeah. She handed me a plate to dry. Dad, do you ever regret it? Filing the complaint? Everything that happened after? I thought about that question for a while. About the marriages that ended, the company that collapsed, the career that got derailed, about the 200,000 people who'd had their private information exploited, and the thousands more who would have if DataStream had continued. No, I said finally. I don't regret doing the right thing. I regret that it was necessary. But those aren't the same thing. How do you know the difference? Your mother taught me something, I said. She said that guilt is when you feel bad about what you did. Regret is when you feel bad about what happened. You can't avoid regret. Things happen. Consequences are messy. People get hurt. But guilt is a choice. If you did the right thing for the right reasons, you don't have to carry guilt. Emily was quiet, thinking. So you don't feel guilty about Marcus? No. I feel sad that it happened. I wish he'd made better choices. I wish you hadn't had to go through all that. But I don't feel guilty for exposing something wrong. She nodded. I'm trying to get there. I still feel guilty sometimes. Like I should have seen it sooner. Should have questioned things. You see it now, I said again. That's what matters. The sun was setting over the water, painting the sky orange and gold through my kitchen window. Same view I'd had for 30 years. Same house where I'd raised my daughter, where Sarah and I had built our life. People ask me sometimes, usually folks at the community center or the grocery store who'd heard about what happened. They ask if I'd do it again, if I'd file that complaint knowing what it would cost. I always give them the same answer. Being a plumber taught me that foundations matter. You can build the most beautiful house in the world, but if the foundation is cracked, if the pipes are corroded, if the structural supports are compromised, eventually it all comes down. Marcus built his company on a cracked foundation. He built his marriage on lies. He built his success on exploiting people who trusted him. I didn't destroy that. I just exposed what was already broken. And sometimes, the kindest thing you can do is refuse to pretend the foundation is solid when you can see the cracks. Emily's doing well now. She's building something new, something honest. And that's worth more than any penthouse in Cole Harbor. I still have my work boots in the garage. Still have my pipe wrench from 41 years of working with my hands. I'm proud of that work, proud of what I built, proud of the foundation I gave my daughter, and I sleep just fine at night.